hustle. Hashtag motivation. Hashtag success. Hashtag hustle culture. Show of hands, how many of you here know what hustle culture means? All right, hands down. I'm Saksham Garg, and today we're going to be talking about hacking hustle culture, achieving success and avoiding burnout. So what is hustle culture? Hustle culture is when a workplace environment places an intense focus on success, ambition, and productivity with very, very little care for work-life balance, self-care, and rest. And the general narrative is that hustle culture is bad, that it not only ignores something so important as self-care, but it also, in the long run, leads to low productivity. Hustle culture, you see, it's more than about waking up at 4 a.m., going for a run, taking a cold shower, coming back, cooking your own breakfast while simultaneously somehow engaging in intermittent fasting. I'm here to tell you that it's more than about going for a grueling 12-hour-a-day at your workplace and then coming back and burning the midnight oil for a side hustle. You see, hustle culture, it's about a state of mind. It's about something that hustle culture provides to you if you engage in it, something that we all crave, something that very few people in this room would perhaps say no to, something that is at a dearth, that is scarce, and that is a constant dose of motivation. So let's stop kidding ourselves. Let's face the music and let's acknowledge what the reality is. And the reality is hustle culture. Despite all the effort that there is to make sure that there is work-life balance, that there is enough rest, there's also a silent, more powerful effort to make sure that hustle culture stays reality for you. And that motivation is something that you will have to gather, because the idea is that hustle culture is a reality for you if you're in school and you have to worry about homework and tasks, or if you've just joined college and you have to learn ways to navigate it, or if you're just about to graduate and join the corporate setup, or even if you're one of the speakers here and you make a living by putting out a reel a day, right? It is the reality, and we have to understand that we are not here to fight it. That we, instead of resisting it, one has to adopt it. And that adoption is what will enable. How do you make hustle culture work for you? So, for me, hustle culture is, the journey started exactly 5 years ago. 5 years, 4 drafts, 2 rewrites, countless others have gone into the making of Samsara. This journey started 5 years ago, right? And it was right after I'd graduated from college. I had just finished economics honors in Hindu, Delhi University, and like a lot of my fellow graduates, I sat for placements for consulting firms. But I didn't get shortlisted for any of them. And that wasn't the issue. The issue wasn't that for the first time after completing college, I was suddenly, for the first time in my life, institutionless. That I didn't have a job. I think there was a bigger problem. The bigger problem was that I did not know what I wanted to do with my life. And to make matters worse, in that moment, to truly help me hit rock bottom, while playing football, broke my leg and led to a slightly rare injury that would see me stuck to one side of the bed, a super hard mattress that would have the shape of me for the next 11 months. And I did what anyone would do in that situation. When I realized that I'm going to be on this bed, I have no idea where I'm going to go. I don't have a job. I don't have anything. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I'm institutionless. There's no school or college name attached to me for the first time. I did what anyone would do in that situation. For the first month, I cried. I said, why? Why me, God? Right? And after that first month, this one idea that I had, कि एक दिन ये book लिखनी है, that idea in my head started forming. And as soon as I started writing, after that first month of crying, I was faced with the same thing that I had been faced with so many times before. That what I was doing was not pragmatic, that it was impossible, it was ludicrous, that I wasn't going to get published. I was told the 1 out of 100 thing again, that out of 100 people that want to write a book, only one truly ends up writing it. That out of 100 that end up finishing that book, only one gets published. That out of 100 that get published, only one finds a top traditional publishing house like a Harper or Penguin to give you that distribution. And out of 100 that are traditionally published, only one becomes a national bestseller. But I wanted those things, right? And in that moment, I decided that in order to have this crazy output that everyone was saying was impossible, I would have to have a crazy input. That I would have to do something that was different. So, I let go of balance. I stopped finding balance in life. I did what I wanted to, when I wanted to. And what I wanted to do more than anything is be in this world right here. Is be in the land of Samsara, Vanyasa. A world where I felt like I was truly breathing for the first time. A world where all of the characters were my friends. A world that I knew like the back of my hand. A world in which I felt like God. And a world, like you can see, that lay before me like a chessboard. And I would do anything to cull out even 1 minute of my day to spend time. So I started taking less frequent showers. I'm not proud of it. I stopped watching movies. I stopped answering calls. I stopped going out. If I wasn't writing or editing or staring at the computer, I was executing a menial task of the day with high efficiency to rush back to that laptop. Because I wanted to be in that Wonka world. And after the next 10 months in this 11-month journey where I was stuck to that bed, first month doing nothing but crying and next 10 months doing nothing but writing, I finally had the book written. But then came the second impossible thing that they said, which was no traditional publishing house, no Penguin Random House or HarperCollins will look at a debut, will look at someone who hasn't been published before, isn't already a best-selling author. And I realized that there was no changing that no matter how many times I rewrote the book. There was only one way to hack that. And the one way to hack that was to somehow make my way into this coveted, tightly knit group of commissioning editors at a Penguin Random House India that not only birthed, but also shaped, packaged, and published some of the foremost books in the country. That I wanted to be an editor that decided which fiction books were being edited. And thus began my journey at Penguin as an editor. And in this journey, I really had to be there, right? Because I had a bold message that I wanted to get into the hands of as many readers. And it had to happen within a certain period of time. A certain number of people had to pick up the book for it to gather that momentum. And that could happen through the distribution of a Penguin Random House, through the crazy support that I had from not just fantasy, mythology authors that I was editing, through the editors that were around me, through the best publicists, the best distributors, the best performance marketers. And at that time, the name of the game for someone like me, who was an economics graduate, and not like the rest of them, extremely legendary and experienced editors that have experience from other publishing houses and they understand publishing and they understand English, the language, and have studied it. The name of the game for me was to not drown. Not drown as this misfit. And not only did I not have to drown, I had to not only make my way out of the water, I had to find shore. Because I was there for a goal. I was there not just to survive as an employee, as a young editor in this coveted team, but also to somehow make time and space for the book and write it and work on it simultaneously. So I employed 4 hacks. 4 hacks. The 4 hacks that I'm here to talk to you about today, the cornerstone of this TEDxKIET, right? These 4 hacks will enable anyone here to hack this crazy world of hustle culture. Number 1, prioritizing important tasks. It's very, very important that the tasks you're choosing to do in the day are the ones that serve you and not the ones that serve others. Because the idea is that you need to run the day and the day does not run you. I'll explain. You need to run the day cannot run you. And what that means is scenario A and scenario B. Think about which one would you rather be in. Scenario A is you're sipping a nice steaming hot cup of chai while reading the newspaper, primly dressed, ready to reach office for the first meeting 15 minutes early. Or scenario B, where you're putting on your socks, booking an Uber while your stove has a pan with boiling eggs, right? Which one would you prefer? I'm pretty sure you're going to go for scenario A, because scenario B is nothing but hashtag skipped breakfast again, right? That's what it is. It's the day running you. Second hack that I want to talk to you about. Setting realistic goals. This one is my personal favorite, the second one, setting realistic goals, because it keeps you sane. It makes sure that you have that consistent pat on the back, that sense of encouragement coming almost daily. And I'll tell you what I mean. I used to have shudders 4 years ago, 3 years, even up until 2 years ago, I used to have shudders. Fear would wash over me. I would be physically paralyzed. While in the middle of writing, I realized that 1 saal ke baad, I will have to put myself out there. I'll have to put my work out there. I will have to go from someone who was very proudly, I will only post once a year on Instagram, to putting out a reel every day. I will have to sit amongst the foremost scholars and discuss classical Hinduism. And I would get shudders. And it would enable me to not work anymore. That's how much it would paralyze me. So setting realistic goals came in. I decided to put my head down, and I decided to focus on daily writing goals instead. And it made the biggest difference. Third, better time management. You may or may not have heard of the Pomodoro technique. It was one that I applied, the Pomodoro technique, which is effectively 3 intense bursts of 25 minutes each, punctuated by 5 minutes of certified health-approved breaks, where you get out of your chair, where you walk around, where you look 30 feet away, and you rest your mind, you rest your eyes, and you rest your body. And finally, the little obvious one is hustle towards self-care. I mean, if you're going to hustle, you might as well hustle towards self-care, right? You might as well hustle in a scenario where, it could be anything. It could be your skincare. It would be finding time for meditation. It could be going for a jog. It could be taking out or convincing yourself to go get therapy. It could be anything. But make sure that that disposable time you have outside of work, you're making the most of it, right? So these are the 4 things that I wanted to talk about in terms of hacking hustle culture. And through these 4 things at Penguin, I managed to not only not drown in this extremely difficult job that I was trying to execute as an employee, but I managed to find shore. I managed to find a place where I was getting more agency, more control over my time finally after 1 year of working. And at that time, I went back into Samsara and I went back into another draft, right? And at that moment, things were working out. I was lucky enough to get this award, but I didn't want this award. I wanted a bigger award. I wanted my name beside a penguin logo. I wanted a national bestseller. I didn't want to stop there. I wanted there to be a movie deal. I want to see movie credits that say, based on the story by Saksham, Garg. I do want to see the 5 different language translations that are coming out. And for that, hustle culture enabled me, right? And I realized that at that moment, I am in a place where Samsara was becoming slowly and slowly a reality in my head. I could imagine its cover. I could imagine what it said on the back. I could imagine far down the line a national bestseller tag. Because, like I had said, I was surrounded by editors that could help me, authors that could help me, marketers that could tell me how to get to readers, publicists, distributors, sales individuals. And all in all, through this, I truly believe that anyone here today, through the 4 hacks that I had pointed out earlier, anyone can achieve success and avoid burnout in this daily life. And to encapsulate what I was wanting to say throughout it all is that I do not want to sound like Joe Rogan here, guys. But if I had to do it all over again, really, I would do it no differently. I would do it exactly the same. Thank you.